Africa. Ramaphosa to appoint new team on black empowerment. Mozambique authorities apologize for errors in school book. Germany hands over looted artifacts to Namibia, but unknown. Egypt jails ex-presidential candidate for 15 years. Plus, UN urges Guinea to revoke ban on protest. Details of all of the stories are more on Spotlight just ahead. Do stay with us. We begin our reports that with South Africa President Cyril Ramaphosa saying he will appoint a council this week to advise on a broad-based economic empowerment program for black people. He noted that while the empowerment program that has been ongoing for 20 years has been significant, that there has been inadequate progress in some areas. In his weekly letter to South Africans, he said they have gone backwards when it comes to increasing black management control, upscaling skills development, entrenching enterprise development, and broadening procurement to give opportunities to black women and the youth. He added that at the end of the apartheid regime in 1994, that black ownership of companies listed at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange was less than 1%. He said more work was needed to address the challenges that businesses owned by black people face, including getting capital to start and expand their businesses, as well as find a market for their products. In another development, Mozambique's Ministry of Education and Human Development has announced the creation of a commission of inquiry to determine who is responsible for the glaring mistakes made in the 6th grade social sciences book, which should arrive in schools from Monday. The ministry's spokesperson, Gina Gubanda, took the opportunity to apologize to parents, guardians, students, and the society in general for the mistakes. The errors in the book entitled Our Continent include both the geographical and historical location of Zimbabwe, a wrong illustration of the Mozambican Parliament, the Assembly of the Republic, and some national rivers. News about what critics described as inconceivable and unacceptable errors began to circulate on social media last week and forced the Education Ministry to hold an emergency meeting on Sunday with the director of the National Institute for the Development of Education, Inde, responsible for drafting and writing the book. Meanwhile, Rwandan President Paul Kagame has held a phone conversation with his Democratic Republic of Congo counterpart, Felix Tshisekedi, along with the African Union Chairman Macky Sall amid cross-border tensions. The Kinshasa government accuses Rwanda of supporting the M23 rebels in renewed fighting in eastern DR Congo, which the government in Kigali denies. Reports say thousands of people have fled their homes as the Congolese army battles the rebels in North Kivu province. He encouraged Angolan President João Lourenço to continue mediating on the issue under the Regional International Conference on the Great Lakes region. Recall that Seoul had earlier expressed grave concern at rising tensions between the two countries, but appealed for dialogue to resolve the dispute. Away from that, Namibia has taken delivery of 23 ancient pieces of jewelry, tools, and other objects pillaged during colonial rule and returned as an indefinite loan from Germany. The return of the artifact is part of a project to encourage rapprochement between the two nations. According to the Museum Association of Namibia, Chairwoman Halima Katunduakwa, all the artifacts were collected during the German colonial era from different Namibian communities. To Egypt now, where criminal court has sentenced the former presidential candidate Abdel Fattah to 50 years in prison with hard labor. Fattah, who is 70 and in poor health, was convicted along with an interim leader of the proscribed Muslim Brotherhood group, Mahmoud Ezzat, of disseminating fake news and joining a terrorist group. Both are blanket charges. Abu Fatou was arrested in 2018 upon his return from Britain. While in London, he gave several media interviews in which he criticized President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's rule. Still in Egypt, archaeologists in Egypt have discovered new ancient artifacts at the Saqqara archaeological site around 19 miles from Cairo. According to the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities website, they include hundreds of coffins and statues and date back to around 500 BC. Reports say the treasures will be displayed at the Grand Egyptian Museum in Giza. Some of the other items found included an untouched papyrus, makeup including coal and jewelry such as bracelets. Saqqara, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, has been a treasure trove of ancient Egyptian artifacts. In a separate development, the United Nations Human Rights Office has urged the transitional authorities in Guinea to revoke a ban on public protest. The UN's human rights spokesperson for Africa, Save Magongo, said the restrictions violated international norms and constituted a setback for democracy. Opposition parties and civil societies activists had expressed concern about the measures in September last year. Guinea's President Alpha Condé was ousted in a military coup. The leader of the takeover, Mamadi Doumbouya, was sworn in as interim president a month later. Recall that earlier this month, the country's military rulers issued a statement prohibiting gatherings in public places. To Liberia now, where the health authorities have confirmed a shortage of the anti-tuberculosis vaccine called Bacille Clement-Guerin (BCG) that is administered to infants and children to boost their immunity against the infectious disease. Chief Medical Officer Francis Kate told newsmen that a consignment that was expected on 24th May will now arrive on the 1st of June. He cited flight difficulties for the delays. He wasn't sure how many health facilities in the 15 counties of the country may still have some of the vaccine, but confirmed it has run out in the main warehouse in Monrovia. According to him, a private Monrovia radio station says the shortage has lasted for more than 4 months and that impatient mothers had been planning to stage protests against the shortage of the life-saving vaccine. Reports say since the end of Liberia's brutal wars nearly 20 years ago, that the country's health sector has declined to the extent that mainly state-run hospitals and clinics simply give prescriptions to patients to buy drugs from expensive private pharmacies. Away from that, Cameroonian soldiers have freed a kidnapped senator of the ruling party, plus several other hostages in an operation in the country's English-speaking northwest region. Senator Elizabeth Regina Mundi was kidnapped along with her driver last month in Bamenda. The separatist group, Ambazonian Defense Forces ADF, said it carried out the abduction. In a statement, Army spokesman Cyril Antofak Gueme said a dozen separatist fighters were killed. Many left injured while others fled during the Monday night raid. Reports say the rebel group is one of several fighting for independence in the two main Anglophone regions, the Northwest and the Southwest. Meanwhile, a military spokesman in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo says 2 Rwandan soldiers were captured by villagers just a day after Kigali claimed they were captured by pro-government rebels. According to General Sylvain Ekenge, the Rwandan soldiers Elisi Nkumbenze and Ntwari Gad were captured by residents of Buishi Chiefdom, about 12 miles away from the border. He claimed the 2 soldiers entered DR Congo last Wednesday to attack the Ruwangambo military camp before they were captured by residents. Meanwhile, Rwanda said the 2 soldiers were being held captive in eastern DR Congo by the Rwandan Hutu militia, which it says gets support from Kinshasa. DR Congo has ramped up its offensive against the M23 rebels in North Kivu province. The rebels, who had been driven out by DR Congo in 2013, have regrouped and retaken strategic areas. The head of the African Union, President Macky Sall of Senegal, has expressed concern at rising tensions between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda. Elsewhere, forces from Ethiopia's embattled region of Tigray say fighting has broken out again with neighboring Eritrea. A senior figure in the Tigray People's Liberation Front, Getachew Reda, said the clashes took place last week. He accused Eritrea of trying to escalate tensions. SpectrumTv, which is affiliated with the Tigray military, said Eritreans also shelled the town of Sheraro over the weekend. Eritrea has not responded to the reports and they have not been independently verified. Reports say while on the ground fighting between the two sides has decreased since a ceasefire in March, tensions have increased on the border between them. In the meantime, a popular club in Nairobi, Kenya, has denied discriminating against black people after a viral video circulated online which appeared to allegedly show a black man being turned away when he joined a queue the poster said was for white and Asian people. The Alchemist Club has released the video footage it says is from the alleged incident with a timestamp, which shows a queue with a mix of black and white people. It also said the video shows the black man who was allegedly denied entry going into the club. It said it spoke to the man in question and that he confirmed he had no issues at the venue. We'll take a quick break, and when we return, we'll bring you the rest of our stories on Spotlight Africa. To stay with us. Thanks for staying tuned. Fighting between informal and gold miners in a remote part of northern Chad has left around 100 people dead and 40 injured, according to Defense Minister Daoud Brahim. What began as a mundane dispute between two individuals degenerated. The mountainous quarry Bagudu district near the Libyan border attracts miners from across Chad and its neighbors. Reports say the clashes occurred last week, but that details are only emerging now. Some groups have put the death toll higher than the authorities and have blamed the security forces for a number of the deaths. Meanwhile, the government has sent a mission to the affected area about 1,000 kilometers northeast of the capital, N'Djamena, when news of violence first came through. Over in Mozambique, where a teenager with albinism was reportedly killed and dismembered in Mongovelas district in Mozambique's northern Nampula province for his body parts. Police say they have arrested the main suspect, who they say confessed to the murder. According to the Nampula police spokesperson, Zacharias Nakute, the detained suspect is the victim's uncle, aged 22. The suspect told the press that he had been promised about 7 million meticals for the body parts. He, whilst in the company of other unknown people, hacked off the victim's limbs. The body parts were found hidden in the town of Mputo. Reports say in the province of Nampula and Niassa, cases of abduction and murder of people with albinism has sparked fear in many citizens. In South Africa, at least 10 people have died after a bus crashed on the N3 in Grootevilia in the east of the country. Reports said the driver lost control of the vehicle in the incident, which is described as having caused absolute devastation, leaving dead bodies strewn on the ground. According to the News 24 website, the driver is thought to have driven into a pillar, causing the bus to drive into a stream, which several people were also injured. Meanwhile, Sudan's military government has lifted a state of emergency, which is imposed after seizing power in a coup 6 months ago. The country's ruling Security and Defense Council said the decision was made at a meeting headed by the military leader, General Abdel Fattah. It said the move was aimed at creating the right atmosphere for dialogue. Protests against the military government have continued since the coup in October. Meanwhile, in recent days, security forces have arrested many protesters, targeting the leaders of the resistance movement. Sudanese authorities have released 125 political prisoners after the country's military leader lifted the state of emergency. Reports say there were leaders of the resistance committees who opposed the military coup after months of unlawful detention. The activists were released from prisons in the capital Khartoum, Port Sudan, and Rabat in the southeast. Their release came after General Abdel Fattah lifted the state of emergency that he imposed across the country after seizing power in a military coup last October. In a separate development, a South African cricket player is seriously injured in hospital after being assaulted at a pub in the southwest of England. Mondi Khumalo, who plays for North Petron, was attacked in the early hours of Sunday morning. The 20-year-old also used to play for South Africa's under-19s and is currently receiving treatment. A suspect has since been arrested and released while an investigation continues. Police say they are taking steps to ensure Mondili's family in South Africa are being kept fully updated on his condition, as well as how the investigation is progressing. North Petron Cricket Club said it was shocked by the incident and sent its well-wishes to Khumalo. To security matters now, where rebels in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo have retreated from areas they recently captured in clashes with government forces in North Kivu province. The fighting displaced more than 100,000 people in the province, but local media reports that many locals are now returning to their homes in Rushu and Nihario areas. A spokesperson for the M23 rebels, Major Willie Ngoma, has told newsmen that they have left those areas in order to make peace. Reports say the rebels have advanced to about 12 miles from the provincial capital of Goma. It is not clear where they retreated to, but the UN-sponsored radio Okapi reports that said when the oppositions put in place close the border with Rwanda. For Africa on the rise, Pope Francis has announced that 2 African clergy will be promoted to cardinals in the Catholic Church, which means they will rank among the most senior officials in the institution. The 2 he named are Bishop Peter Okwaleke from Ekwalombia in southeast Nigeria and Bishop Richard Kwe Bamoma from northern Ghana. According to the Ghana Web News site, Bishop Okwaleke was ordained as a priest in the early 90s, while Bishop Balwa has been a priest since 1987. Reports say they were amongst a list of 21 men Pope Francis announced would get the promotion. Meanwhile, they will be installed during a ceremony in August. For our spotlight personality, Nnedi Okorafor, the award-winning Nigerian-American writer who first wrote Black Panther's T'Challa character, has told newsmen that she started writing fiction late, at the age of 20, during a very pivotal moment in her life. She said she was mainly an athlete and she loved the sciences and loved reading, but that as far as it went. At the age of 19, Okorafor had spinal surgery for severe scoliosis and was mysteriously paralyzed. Doctors did not know if she would ever walk again. It was during her stay in hospital that she got what she described as a spiritual inspiration to write. Okorafor said visiting Nigeria in her childhood was what inspired her stories, adding that the trips had a huge effect on everything, on who she is, how she perceives the world, and how she imagines. Meanwhile, she describes her writing genre as Afrofuturism and Afrojujuism, which she defines as a subcategory of science fiction rooted in African culture. She said Afrojujuism is a subcategory of fantasy and weaves in African spirituality. Okorafor is a recipient of the World Fantasy, Hugo, and Nobel Awards. Her books have strong female leads and draw inspiration from her Nigerian roots. She has written 23 books and 7 comics. And that's all we have for you at this time. To ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, SpectrumTv.ng. You have been watching Spotlight Africa. I am Uyai Aniek, and thanks for watching, and do enjoy the rest of your evening.